It's not about doing what you love. Rather, it is about loving everything that you are doing. Here's why following your passion is terrible advice. As a 20 something year old, I often get told that this is the age where we have to follow our passion, where we have to, find that thing that we love and go chase after it. But I think there's a couple of issues with this particular piece of advice. The first one is that it assumes that following your passion means that your passion is one thing. But that really isn't true. We are multifaceted, and just like we need different kinds of relationships in our life, we also need different kind of passions in our life. Your passion can be running, or it can be music, or it can be reading, or it can be dance. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that is your one true passion and nothing else exists. You can have different passions at different points in your life. And this also assumes that your passion is always going to be one thing. As we live longer and as our working lives therefore also increase, it means that surely there can't just be one thing that we love for our entire lives. We are always evolving, and therefore so are our passions. The second aspect is that your passion, or assuming that your passion must be your job. But most times the reason something is a passion is because it's not intrinsically linked to monetary status or that need to make money out of it. If you enjoy singing, or if you enjoy going to a dance class, or if you enjoy going to the gym, that's because that is something you do for yourself. It's something that you do to feel better. It's not necessarily something that you do because you want to make money from it. And so as soon as you make your passion your job, you're now attaching a sort of monetary need to that. And if you don't make those financial gains from that passion, it then becomes really difficult. And what it actually leads to is it leads to feelings of dejection, feelings of resentment, feelings of kind of, bitterness towards something that you used to love. And so I think those first two things are very important. Feeling like you have to be this one dimensional person and just have one passion, and feeling like that passion must also be how you make money. A lot of times the people who say this kind of stuff are those that are in a privileged position to be in that, and to kind of say that it's okay to follow your passion. I think the example that's given a lot is of Steve Jobs. So he used to be very interested in sort of Zen Buddhism and sort of music and dance. Now that is not what he's known for. He's of course known for being the founder of Apple. And so I think that whilst that's something that was a passion of his, he entered the world of tech and he created a company that we've actually made a video on, so do go check out that video. But also he found passion in whatever it is that he then started doing, because it was clear that his interest in Buddhism, whilst something that is important, was not going to make him money. And so I think it's very important, especially for people who are starting out in their careers, who are similar to my age, in their 20s, mid 20s, or even beyond that, are aware of the fact that it takes, and you have to be in a certain position in order to say that. And but I think the flip side of that, and I think it's very easy to sit here and say, oh well, they're rich and therefore they can say that. But I think there's a learning in that, and the learning is that the intro that we started with is that they found a way to love whatever it is that they were doing and they were making money from. I think that it's very with social media and with the rise of sort of this idea that if you have to have a purpose and a passion, it's the feeling of loving completely whatever it is that you choose to do. But that's never the case, regardless of whatever it is that you're doing. And so I think what's important is finding, firstly, what your priorities are, what your goals are, what your values are, and what your non-negotiables are. If you are in that position where you're considering or thinking about what career path you want to go into, and what you potentially see yourself doing, I think those are the things that you want to note down, not necessarily, finding your true calling, or, finding something that is attracting you, because it may be that what interests you most is sitting on the couch and watching Netflix. And whilst a lot of us, and most of us, do love doing that, including me, that probably isn't going to earn us money. And so I think what's important is sitting there and thinking, firstly, what do I feel like I want out of a job? Is it just is it a particular type of environment? Do you enjoy a job which is more solitary, or do you enjoy a job which is more collaborative and working with other people? Do you enjoy a job that is more creative, or do you enjoy a job that's more analytical? Do you feel like you're kind of thriving in conditions where you are kind of have to be very extroverted and speak to loads of people, or do you prefer to kind of sit back and observe? I think these are the kind of things that you want to be focusing on, rather than trying to chase that particular passion, or that particular kind of purpose in your life. And I think along with that is a very important aspect of knowing that just because you're passionate about something does not mean you're good at it. And I think that can seem pessimistic, right? But I think that it's also realistic. Whilst you may enjoy, perhaps it is, guitar, perhaps you enjoy playing the guitar, but you probably know deep inside that that's not, you're not going to become the next big superstar and earn loads of money from it. And so it's thinking about, what are your strengths? What do you feel like you are competent in? What do you feel like you always bring to the table? And again, this can come from observation, whether you're at university, whether you are in your first job, whether you are younger than that. What is it, or what particular subjects are there? And within those subjects, what is it particularly that you are good at? Identifying those is key, because in the future, what you want to do is that you not only want to be highly skilled, you want to be a highly valued member. And a highly valued member is someone who knows what their competencies are, and who knows which aspects of the job they feel like they should delegate to others, because as much as we have strengths, we also have weaknesses, and that's a key skill. And what is it that we know we can take on because it is something that we enjoy? So those ideas and those kind of things are what you want to be thinking about when you are starting out, or when you're thinking about even pivoting your career path. How we can do that, apart from obviously observing whatever it is position you're in right now, is following your curiosity. If there's a particular profession or a particular kind of role that is interesting you, speak to people. The power of social media is that we have got so many of these people at our fingertips. And I think that doing Commerce Meets Law and doing the podcast has allowed me to speak to so many people, and has opened my eyes to so many different roles that I didn't even know existed. And I think that a lot of that has come from a literal cold LinkedIn message. As I spoke about in my video where I was talking about how the podcast episodes are created, so much of it is me feeling really scared, thinking that these people are never going to respond. And 9 times out of 10, and I was so surprised about this, they do, and they are willing to give you their time. And it really opens up your eyes to so many things that you are not exposed to at school, or you're not exposed to at university. And so I think that having that open mindset and having that inquisitiveness and having that curiosity is so important. Apart from speaking to people, go and try stuff out, right? If it is a particular type of art or something that you want to learn, go and do that. Whether it is using Skillshare and learning to code, or whether it is going to that dance class, or whatever it is that you want to do, go and try that out. Even if that doesn't lead to a career path, maybe it leads to a hobby that you enjoy, and that can be something that you do alongside your work. And adding to that point of, your passion not just being one thing, this is where we are in the age where everyone seems to talk about side hustles and other, ways of earning money alongside their job. And I think that that's the key, because a lot of the pushback to this thing of you should not follow your passion is, well, no job is secure. And especially in the current world of AI and tech, it feels like every job is changing, and who knows what kind of jobs there'll be in the future. But that's why, rather than you thinking, okay, I must hand in my resignation tomorrow and just go and follow my passion, it is, how can you diversify your skill set? How can you, and that comes back to following your curiosity, how can you make sure that you are so good that they can't ignore you, right? And that's the Cal Newport's book, which where he also talks a lot about this. And a lot of these ideas have actually come from him and his conversation with Ali Abdaal, which I'll link down below. Massive fan of both of them, and I think those books are amazing. But I think that it really does come down to that. It really is diversifying your skill set and feeling like if tomorrow you do lose your job, or you do lose whatever it is that you're currently doing, you are able to go into something else, and you're able to, switch. There's this idea that, if you're passionate about something, that will ultimately lead to success. And here's where, again, you can feel like this is pessimism, but I think there was this interesting chart that I'll actually put up on the screen now, where it talks about a lot of people having interest in particularly the arts, and that comparing that to the actual jobs that are there within arts. And by arts, I mean music, drama, dance, painting, all of that kind of stuff. And so I think it's important to try and consider that whilst there are all these examples, and I think that whenever you talk about these kind of things, you always get these examples of people who are school dropouts and now are, multi-billionaires. And that's great. But what you don't see is all those people who didn't succeed. And so it's important to understand, firstly, that whilst some people can turn their passion into work and be really successful at it, it requires a little bit of luck. It requires a little bit of being in the right place at the right time, and obviously an immense lot of hard work. And I think that sometimes when something feels like you're calling or you're passionate about it, it can either be because you're already quite good at it, or you feel like amongst a certain group you feel like that's your strength, or it's because you feel like it doesn't require a lot of work because that's not something you're doing in order to achieve a result. As soon as you are putting a result to it, a goal that is extrinsic rather than intrinsic, it makes things a lot more difficult. So I think that it's important to understand that luck and a little bit of sort of fate or whatever you call it plays a role into this, as well as a lot of hard work, and I think that cannot be unsaid. Of course, talent as well. But that's why having these options, so as we say, diversifying, having a plan B, having other kind of things that you can turn to, is so key. Tomorrow, if you feel like you are at the risk of feeling like you're not happy in your job, there is something else that you maybe could do. But immediately just deciding that that is the only thing that you're ever going to do is a recipe for disaster, and I think that's something to bear in mind. So I think, as someone who has been told this a lot of times, and I myself have, considered whether whatever it is that I'm going into, whether that's something that I'm passionate about, or whether it is something that I am, it is my passion, as we say. So, it is me following my passion. I think the key is to understand that it is something that I want to do now. I feel like it will increase my skill base, it will increase my knowledge, but I also don't have to be tied to it for the next 40 years. It doesn't have to be something that I do for the rest of my life. I can pivot, I can change, I can go into a different career path. I can, I can have the moment to sit back and reflect. So I think that, and well, of course, all of this with a lot of people not having this, as we discussed earlier, with whether it is financial advantages or income savings, where they feel like they have to be in a job. And I think particularly for those people, this can feel, someone saying to them, follow your passion, can feel like really restricted because they feel like they don't have the position to do that. And so I think that, from my own perspective and having listened to very differing views on this, I thought that this was something that I wanted to talk about, because it's something that people my age, and I've had a lot of conversations actually with my friends, but also with my parents, who of course have a very different opinion on this. And I think that it's led to some interesting conversations. So I would love to know your thoughts on what you think about this, and I would love to know also who you are and like sort of what age and what stage and kind of your life you're at, and therefore I think that also informs our opinion. So do definitely let me know your thoughts below. This was just a nice chat, sitting out in my garden, just kind of discussing this topic that I've heard a lot about. But yeah, would be really interested to know your thoughts and your views in it as well. For now, hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Bye bye.